Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Form Check Friday. We're going to dive right in with Albert, who we left off on last video. Now, he's 22. He's got some past bodybuilding experience, just kind of getting into powerlifting. This is a beltless set of 3 at 315. He said this is about an RPE 7. So let's take a look. Now, the first thing I noticed is the bar looks a little unstable on the unrack. You can see it kind of pops up there, shakes around a little bit, and he actually needs to take a second to let the bar settle. Now, first off, that's a good thing that you did that and did let the bar settle before you decided to try to squat it. But if we can be a little bit more controlled out of the rack, I think we're going to eliminate the need for some of that. Now, overall, the squat looks pretty damn good. Depth is there. Bottom position looks good. We're maintaining a relatively stable torso angle. We might be a tiny bit overextended. Maybe a little tiny bit of ribs down would allow us to just maintain a little bit more of a consistent torso position throughout the lift. Nice little dance move at the end there, and that's a big win for me, so hopefully that helps you, buddy. Alrighty, now our next video submission comes from Mr. Marius. Now, before we dive into that, I just want to let everybody know, if you're interested in being featured on Form Check Friday, go ahead and click that link I'm going to have Dylan put up at the top of the screen right now, and you can watch a video on how to submit your video to be chosen for Form Check Friday. Now, Marius wants to be a little bit better out of the rack and with his leg drive. He's also doing a Spoto press here. So you'll notice this Spoto press variation is where you're essentially pausing just above the chest. So not quite a full range of motion, but ideally working on some stopping power in the bottom. Marius' goal is 140 kilo bench, and he says he feels worse with a bit more arch. He also said his setup's a bit inconsistent time to time. He sometimes puts his feet out here. Just sounds like a lot of questioning things. I think at some point you kind of just need to dig into what you're doing and just try to get better. Now, I do think that this grip is probably a bit narrow. You look like a pretty long guy, so if we can widen that grip a little bit, minimize the range of motion, looks like we're having to go through quite a bit of shoulder movement to get even to a Spoto press position. If we go much further to get that bar right down to the chest, it's going to be a lot of shoulder movement. So if we can minimize that range of motion, often in longer people with longer ranges of motion, that can be helpful. So let's widen that grip a little bit. Let's continue this good sort of consistent leg drive. Quit messing around with your feet. Just leave them there. It looks pretty good here, man. Your butt's on the bench. You got a decent size arch. You don't need more arch. You could probably depress the shoulder blades and be a little tighter through the upper back. But overall, I think it looks okay. Just bench a lot more. Maybe try some more frequency, try some more volume. If you're not feeling beat up and you're not progressing, you can probably do more. Alrighty, now our next video submission comes from Gabriel, and Gabriel's doing a triple at 405, says it's about an RP 9.5. He's relatively new to powerlifting. He says he's only been deadlifting for about 9 months. So let's take a quick step back here and take a look at these pulls. Now, first impression, things look pretty damn good. He's got a good, nice, tight position with the back there, and does a good job of kind of pushing off the floor, not being overly rushed and losing too much position. I still do think by the end of the set, that's one thing we're going to have to work on, is maintaining that position, not letting the hips shoot up behind you like that. Try to be a little bit more patient with that position you're creating, and also instead of just sitting down into that position, try to pull yourself into that position. So by the time the hips come down, you should be already creating tension in the quads, hamstrings, glutes, pretty much throughout the full body. Pull yourself into position. Don't just sit down into position. That's going to help you create more tension off the floor, have a more consistent start to your deadlift, and I think in a lot of ways that's going to help you improve. So let's get that starting position tighter, more tense, and let's work on being a little bit more patient off the floor. Hopefully that helps you, buddy. And now we have a submission from Ty here. And Ty has been training about 1 year. He's looking to get some critique on his depth because he said that's been an issue in the past, and he is also looking to compete at some point. Now, first off, this is a very, very high bar squat. I think the bar is almost on his neck. So let's try to work that bar down the back. Let's get a little bit of torso lean going on and see if that doesn't help you to start with. Now, the next thing is, again, because of the high bar squat, we're really fighting to stay super upright. We're going to want a little bit of a lean so that we can utilize a lot of that musculature of the posterior chain. and also see a lot less shift between the descent back angle and the ascent back angle. You can see how hard he's fighting to keep that bar in position, and that might be actually the limiting factor with how you're squatting here, is keeping the bar in position as opposed to the actual strength of the legs. So if we can get into a bit of a lower bar position, depth actually looks good there, by the way. That was his main concern, and depth looks like it is sunk. I don't think anybody's going to call that high. However, I do think that we should look at trying out some low bar squatting. Try moving that bar a little bit further down your back and see how that helps you. And next we have Joseph. So Joseph is 22 years old. He plans on doing his first competition a little bit later this year, and he says he's got some inconsistencies in his technique. Now, he also says that he sometimes gets a little bit of bicep pain, but he's looking for a way to try to tie his technique together so that he can be a little bit more consistent with it from session to session. Now, I'm going to let this one play through once more here, and I want everybody to go ahead and leave their constructive criticism in the comments below. We will start next episode with Joseph's bench press. I will not be leaving him hanging, and we will see everybody in that next video. Bye-bye.